She watched him refuse to show up for her back surgery. She watched him prioritize another family, another house, and another life, while she was left waiting by the door. But what 16-year-old Truly Brown just realized about her biological dad Kody compared to her stepdad David Woolley will absolutely break your heart. We've all seen the awkward on-screen interactions, but the truth of what has been going on recently is far more devastating. Before we get to the heart-wrenching moment that happened completely behind closed doors and the private family event that changed the Brown family tree forever, you need to know about the secret letter that started it all. A letter that, if the rumors are true, Kody Brown wishes he could permanently erase from existence. Sister Wives fans have watched this family unravel for well over a decade, but nothing could prepare anyone for the emotional fallout of the youngest of Christine's children are coming of age. You might think you know the whole story of Christine leaves Kody. You probably think it was just about the lack of intimacy, the blatant favoritism toward Robyn, or the draconian COVID-19 rules that ripped the family apart. But there is a silent victim in the Brown family saga, and her name is Truly. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why Truly's recent, untelevised decision has completely severed her ties with Kody, and it will completely change how you've been thinking about this family's dynamic. We are going to reveal the specific incident that cemented David Woolley not just as Christine's new husband, but as Truly's real father figure. Why did Kody really stay away when Truly needed him the most? What is the real reason he allegedly never responded to a deeply personal plea from his own teenage daughter? And how did David step into the void so seamlessly that it reportedly drove Kody into a jealous rage behind the scenes? You need to stick around until the very end, because the final piece of this puzzle, the specific event that fans are buzzing about right now, proves that Kody didn't just lose a wife in Christine. He completely, irreparably lost a daughter who spent her entire childhood desperately waiting for him to simply show up. To really understand the magnitude of what is happening right now, we have to take you back to the beginning of the end. You remember when Truly was just a little girl, right? She was the baby born right as the family was thrust into the reality TV spotlight, arriving in the very first season of the show while Kody was out courting Robyn. From the literal moment she took her first breath, Truly's existence was forced to share space with Kody's infatuation with his fourth wife. Does it shock anyone that this foundational dynamic set the stage for a lifetime of neglect? Let's talk about the medical traumas, because you cannot discuss Kody and Truly without bringing up the moments her life was literally on the line. Longtime viewers will never forget the terrifying kidney failure incident when she was just a toddler. While Christine was out of town working to support the family, Kody was supposed to be watching his kids. Instead, a young Truly became dangerously dehydrated, ending up hospitalized and fighting for her life. How does a father look at his child in a hospital bed, knowing his negligence played a part, and not vow to be by her side forever? Here is a surprising fact that many fans gloss over. Kody's pattern of medical avoidance didn't just stop with the kidney failure or Isabel's infamous scoliosis surgery. When Truly needed major back surgery more recently, fans watched in absolute horror as Kody once again pushed Christine and her children aside. He found reasons not to travel. He cited rules, protocols, and his obligations to Robyn's tender-aged children. Think about that for a second. His teenage daughter is facing a terrifying, painful spinal procedure, and her biological father essentially says, "I can't make it." What goes through a young girl's mind when she realizes she ranks dead last on her father's priority list? For years, Sister Wives fans watched this dynamic play out. We saw Christine's heartbreak, not just for herself, but for the daughter she was trying to protect. We saw Kody demand respect and patriarchal loyalty, while entirely failing to provide the basic emotional safety a father owes his child. But Truly isn't a toddler anymore. She isn't a little girl who can be pacified with a quick 5-minute visit every other week. She is now 16 years old. She is observant, she is highly intelligent, and she has a voice. Recently, Truly publicly admitted a devastating truth that shattered whatever illusions Kody was trying to maintain. She plainly stated, "My dad and I aren't close. It was a polite, incredibly mature way of saying what everyone already knew. The relationship is fractured. But why is it fractured? Is it just the physical distance of moving to Utah? Is it just a messy divorce? No, it's the accumulation of 1,000 tiny betrayals. It's watching him refuse to cross the street or get in a car to be there for her. But hold on to your seats, because the physical distance and the television drama are nothing compared to the devastating secret letter Truly allegedly wrote to Kody. Letter that was completely hidden from the TLC cameras, which we are going to dive into in just a moment. Before we get to that, let's look at the emotional transition Truly was forced to navigate. Moving away from Flagstaff was supposed to be an escape. It was Christine packing up the pieces of her broken heart and taking her youngest daughter to a place of safety and family support in Utah. For Truly, this meant leaving the only fragmented version of a family she really knew. She was uprooted, carrying the heavy baggage of a father who didn't fight for her to stay. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to leave your hometown, secretly hoping your dad will chase after your car, only to look in the rearview mirror and see an empty road? Kody claimed he wanted 50-50 custody back when Christine first announced she was leaving. He put on a massive performance for the cameras, yelling about his rights, screaming on the porch about wasted time, and demanding that he get equal time with Truly. But what did his actions actually show? Once Christine moved to Utah, the effort from Kody's end evaporated. He demanded the title of a 50-50 father without wanting to do any of the actual heavy lifting of parenting. He wanted the respect without the relationship. And that is where the story shifts. Because while Kody was busy making excuses in Flagstaff, a massive storm was brewing in Utah that would legally and emotionally cut him out of the picture in ways he never anticipated. What cameras did and didn't show. Now, we enter the hidden layer. What you saw on your television screen was a highly edited, heavily produced narrative. You saw the awkward goodbyes, the tense family meetings, and Kody's endless talking heads complaining about being the victim. But what the cameras didn't capture was the silent, profound shift happening within Truly's heart. Let's bring in what the sources and deep dive fan communities are pointing to right now. According to multiple massive Reddit threads circulating this week, sourced from individuals claiming to be closely connected to the Brown family's inner circle, a major legal milestone happened entirely off camera. In early 2025, rumor has it that Christine officially secured primary physical and legal custody of Truly. We all knew she was the primary caretaker, but this alleged legal shift changed the power dynamic completely. Kody no longer had the threat of a theoretical custody battle to hang over Christine's head. The leverage was gone. And it was in the direct aftermath of this early 2025 custody shift that the most heartbreaking piece of this puzzle supposedly fell into place. According to these swirling rumors, shortly after the custody arrangement was finalized, 16-year-old Truly took a pen to paper. She didn't send a quick, angry text. She didn't blast him on social media like a typical teenager might. Instead, sources claim she wrote Kody a deeply personal, physical letter. Sources suggest that this letter was not filled with teenage angst or bitter insults. It wasn't angry. It was a heartbreaking, vulnerable plea. It was a 16-year-old girl asking the ultimate question. Why wasn't I enough? Why wasn't she enough for him to visit? Why wasn't she enough for him to pick up the phone? Why was it so easy for him to stay in a mansion with Robyn's kids while his own biological daughter was hundreds of miles away, healing from a massive back surgery, completely fatherless? Can you imagine the courage it takes for a teenager to write those words? To lay her soul bare, risking total rejection, just to get some closure from the man who helped bring her into the world. Now, how do you think Kody Brown responded to this profound act of vulnerability? Did he pack a bag, drive straight to Utah, and beg for her forgiveness? Did he write a multi-page apology detailing his regrets? If you think Kody took accountability, you clearly haven't been paying attention to the last 18 seasons of Sister Wives. What Kody allegedly did next behind closed doors will make your blood boil, and it perfectly set the stage for David Woolley to step in and take his place. The rumor mill on Twitter is blazing with details from alleged show insiders. They claim that Kody never officially responded to Truly's letter. Let me repeat that. He never wrote her back. Instead of addressing his daughter's pain, what did he do? He reportedly took the letter straight to his favorite sounding board, Robyn. Sources suggest that Kody threw a fit, complaining to Robyn that Christine was brainwashing Truly. He allegedly insisted that there was no way Truly came up with those feelings on her own. In Kody's mind, he is never the villain. He is only ever the victim of a smear campaign. He convinced himself that the letter was just Christine using Truly as a pawn to make him feel guilty. By framing it as brainwashing, Kody gave himself permission to completely ignore his daughter's pain. It's a psychological defense mechanism we've seen him use time and time again. If the kids are mad at him, it's not his fault. It's the mothers poisoning their minds. Why is it so impossible for Kody to believe that a highly intelligent, observant, a 16-year-old girl could look at his actions and draw her own conclusions? Truly lived it. She was the one sitting in the hospital. She was the one moving to a new state without her dad. She didn't need Christine to brainwash her. She had a front row seat to Kody's neglect her entire life. And this is where the contrast becomes incredibly jarring. Because while Kody was sitting in Flagstaff, holding a heartbreaking letter from his daughter and complaining about being the victim of a grand conspiracy, another man was quietly waking up every single morning in Utah and doing the actual work of being a father. Enter David Woolley. What fans didn't see on the show was the slow, quiet, methodical way David integrated himself into Truly's life. David didn't demand respect. He didn't ask Truly to sign a patriarchal loyalty contract. He didn't yell at her mother or complain about how much of a burden parenting is. He just showed up. When you hear about step-parenting dynamics, it's often fraught with tension, especially with teenagers. But the buzz from Utah locals and family insiders is that David took a completely different approach. He didn't try to replace Kody. He simply filled the massive, gaping void that Kody left behind. Does Truly need a ride to school? David's got the keys. Is there a school event or a weekend outing? David is already in the car. It is the simplest thing that makes a father. It's not grand proclamations of love on a reality TV couch. It's consistency. And for a girl who has spent 16 years dealing with the ultimate inconsistent father, David Woolley's the quiet, steadfast presence was nothing short of revolutionary. While Kody made excuses, David made breakfast. While Kody complained about travel protocols, David planned family road trips. The juxtaposition is so stark, it almost feels scripted, but it's real life. And this quiet transition, this passing of the torch from biological father to stepdad, didn't go unnoticed by the fans. In fact, it's leading up to a massive, private family event that has the entire Sister Wives fandom screaming right now. So, what is happening right now with Truly Brown? If you look at her current situation in Utah, the transformation is nothing short of breathtaking. Think about how you felt at 16 years old. You were likely trying to find your own identity, figuring out who you were outside of your parents' shadows, right? For a child raised on reality television, that teenage transition is already incredibly difficult. But for Truly, it meant shedding the heavy, suffocating weight of Kody's conditional love and stepping into the bright, unconditional light of the Woolley household. Today, Truly is thriving. She is openly expressing her unique, quirky, and brilliant personality. She is embracing her goth-leaning fashion, her love for art, and her intense, dry sense of humor. Have you noticed how much she genuinely smiles in Christine's recent social media posts compared to the strained, uncomfortable grimaces we used to see when she was forced to interact with Kody on camera? The body language tells a story that TLC's editing room could never manipulate. When you look closely at the present dynamic, something monumental has shifted in Truly's psychological landscape. She has finally realized that she does not have to earn a father's love. She doesn't have to compete with Robyn's daughters for a scrap of Kody's attention. Why should a teenager exhaust herself chasing a grown man who refuses to meet her halfway? David Woolley has fundamentally changed the rules of the game. He brought an entirely new energy to the family, a calm, protective, and intensely loyal grandfatherly and fatherly warmth. And he didn't just bring himself, he brought a massive, loving, extended family. Truly suddenly found herself surrounded by step-siblings and a vast network of relatives who didn't view her as a burden or a biological obligation. They just viewed her as family, period. But here is a surprising fact that has been quietly circulating in the deep dive fan forums over the last few months, completely bypassing the mainstream tabloids. Rumor has it that this shift isn't just emotional, it has become administrative. According to sources supposedly connected to Truly's local school district in Utah, a massive change was recently made to her official school paperwork. Fans and insiders speculate that Christine and Truly quietly updated her emergency contact and guardian forms for the 2025-2026 school year. The shocker? Kody Brown's name was allegedly completely scrubbed from the primary contact list. Who was listed as the secondary guardian right under Christine, with the relationship designated simply as father? David Woolley. Think about the magnitude of that administrative detail. If a 16-year-old girl gets sick at school, or if there is an emergency, the school isn't calling Flagstaff. They aren't calling the biological patriarch who demands absolute respect. They are calling David. How deeply must Kody's ego be bruised, knowing that his biological daughter feels safer in the hands of a man she's known for a fraction of her life? This brings us to the most tragic irony of Kody Brown's current existence. He spent years building a literal and metaphorical fortress in Flagstaff, isolating himself with Robyn under the guise of protecting his family. He created endless rules and loyalty tests. He demanded that his wives and children bow down to his authority. But what did that fortress actually accomplish? He is now sitting on a piece of property, surrounded by the silence of his own making, completely estranged from nearly all of his original 13 children. Meanwhile, Truly is experiencing the exact opposite in Utah. She is experiencing what a healthy, functioning family actually looks like. She is seeing a man treat her mother like an absolute queen. She is watching David listen to Christine, respect her opinions, and treat her as an equal partner. Do you realize how crucial it is for a teenage girl to see her mother loved properly? Truly spent her formative years watching Kody roll his eyes at Christine, dismiss her feelings, and withhold physical affection. Now she is getting a daily masterclass in what a real marriage is supposed to look like. It rewrites the entire blueprint of her future. But it isn't just about how David treats Christine. It's about how David treats Truly's siblings. We all know that Kody's relationship with the older boys, Garrison, Gabriel, and Pardon, fractured into a million unfixable pieces. We watched the heartbreak of Isabel's surgery. We saw the tears. Yet, when David entered the picture, he didn't shrink away from the trauma Kody left behind. He embraced the older kids. He became a sounding board, a friend, and a quiet supporter for the entire ruined Brown family empire. When Truly sees her older, fiercely protective brothers laughing with David, sharing a beer, and genuinely respecting him, what do you think that does to her perception of Kody? It shatters it completely. But you haven't even heard the most explosive part of this story yet. While the school paperwork rumor is shocking enough, it completely pales in comparison to the hidden detail of a recent, highly private family event. What happened at this untelevised gathering is the exact reason why fans are absolutely losing their minds this week. It involves a specific gesture Truly made toward Davida. Gesture that sent a loud, unmistakable message straight to Flagstaff. This brings us to what the fans are saying right now, and the deeply hidden detail that TLC producers are supposedly scrambling to figure out how to address. If Kody thought the secret letter was a devastating blow, this recent event is the final nail in the coffin of their relationship. We are about to dive into the exclusive insight chapter, Why are Reddit threads exploding with screenshots of a very specific deleted photo? What did Truly do that crossed an invisible line in Kody's mind? And how did David Woolley react when he realized he had officially, undeniably replaced Kody Brown? Have you been scrolling through the Sister Wives subreddits this week? If you haven't, you are missing out on one of the most explosive, deeply analyzed fan theories in the history of the show. Fans have been doing some serious digital detective work, and what they've uncovered paints a vivid picture of Kody's ultimate nightmare coming true. Some sources suggest that just a few weeks ago, the Woolley family hosted a highly private, untelevised family event in Utah to celebrate Truly's 16th birthday. No TLC cameras, no heavy lighting, just a blended family genuinely celebrating a milestone. But in the age of social media, nothing stays completely private, does it? How long does it take for a seemingly innocent Instagram story to accidentally reveal a massive family secret? According to Reddit threads this week, it took exactly 4 minutes. Someone at the party, fans speculate, it was either McKelty or Pardon, briefly uploaded a video to their Instagram story before frantically deleting it minutes later. But 4 minutes is an eternity on the internet. Quick-fingered fan accounts grabbed the screenshot, and the hidden detail inside that deleted frame is what has everyone buzzing. In the background of this deleted photo, Truly was captured presenting a wrapped gift to David Woolley. This wasn't David's birthday. It was Truly's Sweet 16. So why is the birthday girl handing a custom, heavily wrapped present to her stepdad? Zoomed in, enhanced screenshots of the image allegedly show a piece of custom, framed artwork that Truly an incredibly talented artist drew herself. The artwork supposedly depicted a family portrait. But the kicker? The inscription at the bottom of the frame, visibly scrawled in Truly's distinct handwriting, allegedly read, "To the man who actually showed up. Thanks for being my real dad." Can you even imagine the absolute shockwave that phrase sends through the Brown family universe? Why would a teenager give that specific gift on her own birthday? Because 16 is a coming-of-age moment. It is the exact age when a child looks around and fully comprehends who has been doing the heavy lifting in their life. Truly wasn't just giving David a piece of art, she was giving him a title. She was formally, undeniably crowning him as her father. Why do you think the photo was deleted so quickly? Was it because Christine knows Kody obsessively monitors their social media through Robyn? Did they want to spare Kody's feelings? Or were they simply trying to avoid a barrage of angry, narcissistic text messages from Flagstaff? The fans are saying that this specific event, this beautiful but heartbreaking gesture, inevitably made its way back to Kody. You know how small their circles really are. And this brings us right to the edge of the ultimate realization. What does a biological father do when he realizes he has been completely, entirely replaced? Does he fight back? Or does he finally surrender to the truth of his own failures? We are finally going to answer the question we promised you at the very beginning of this video. Get ready, because the devastating reason why Kody stayed away and the profound realization Truly just had about her two fathers is about to change your entire perspective on this family. This is the devastating reality that happened completely behind closed doors. By the end of all the excuses, the unanswered letters, and the deleted social media posts, Truly finally realized the heartbreaking truth about her biological dad compared to her stepdad. Here is the payoff. Kody didn't stay away from her back surgery or ignore her heartbreaking letter just because of COVID protocols or because Christine was brainwashing her. Kody stayed away out of pure, unadulterated cowardice. He couldn't face the daughter he had failed. He couldn't look into Truly's eyes and justify why Robyn's children were living in luxury while she was suffering. He stayed away because being a real father requires accountability, and Kody Brown is utterly incapable of holding himself accountable. But David Woolley? David isn't afraid of the messy, difficult, untelevised moments of parenting. Truly realized that blood doesn't make a father, consistency does. She chose David because David chose her first. He didn't need to be biologically related to her to show up for her. When she handed him that custom portrait at her 16th birthday party, she was permanently severing the emotional cord to Kody. She stopped waiting by the door for a man who was never going to walk through it, and she finally hugged the man who had been standing beside her all along. Kody didn't just lose a wife when Christine packed up and left for Utah. He permanently lost a deeply intelligent, wonderful daughter who spent her childhood begging to be loved. And the tragic part? He has absolutely no one to blame but himself. But how did Kody and Robyn physically react when the news of this real dad portrait reached their multi-million-dollar compound? Did Robyn try to intervene, or did Kody finally snap and threaten legal retaliation against David? What do you guys think? Do you think Truly was right to cut Kody out completely, or is there still hope for a reconciliation in the future? Let me know your honest thoughts down in the comments below. If you want to know what happened next, including the explosive, unhinged voicemail Kody allegedly left for David immediately after seeing the deleted birthday photo, that story is already uploaded. Click right here.